The chilling assault on democracy, unraveling the shocking assassination attempt on former President Trump. Republican candidate Donald Trump won the re-election with 312 electoral votes, surpassing Democratic candidate Kamala Harris with 226 votes. Mr. Trump won an absolute victory in 7 battleground states this year and won all 93 electoral votes. In terms of popular votes, Mr. Trump received 72.9 million votes, far surpassing Ms. Harris with 68.2 million votes. As a result, Mr. Donald Trump will be re-elected and become the 47th President of the United States. However, during the election campaign, there were many times when Mr. Trump faced danger, causing public confusion and special concern. Let's take a look back at the event of President Trump being assassinated during the election campaign. Butler, Pennsylvania. It was a seemingly routine political rally, one that former President Donald Trump had participated in countless times over the years. But on this fateful July evening, the usually raucous gathering was shattered by the sound of gunfire, plunging the nation into a state of shock and uncertainty. The events that unfolded that day would captivate the country, sparking a flurry of questions and demands for answers. How had a lone 20-year-old gunman managed to infiltrate the tightly secured event, bringing the former commander-in-chief dangerously close to becoming the victim of a political assassination? As Trump took the stage to address the crowd of his ardent supporters, chaos erupted. Shots rang out, piercing the air with a sickening crack. Eyewitnesses reported seeing a figure, later identified as Thomas Matthew Crooks, perched atop the adjacent American Glass Research Building, armed with an AR-15 style rifle. Secret Service agents immediately sprang into action, shielding the former president and ushering him to safety. In the melee, 2 bystanders, David Dutch and James Copenhaver, were critically wounded, while 47-year-old Corey Comparator, a father who had heroically placed himself between the gunfire and his family, tragically lost his life. The counter-sniper teams tasked with securing the event quickly neutralized the threat, killing Crooks in the process. But the damage had been done, and the nation was left reeling, grappling with the harrowing realization that the very foundations of its democracy had been shaken to the core. As investigators delved into Crooks' background, the case only became more convoluted. The 20-year-old had no known criminal history, no overt political affiliations, and was described by those who knew him as a quiet, unassuming individual. His employment as a nursing home worker and his lack of any prior warning signs only added to the mystery. What authorities did uncover, however, was a troubling array of evidence that pointed to a level of planning and preparation that belied Crooks' seemingly innocuous persona. Explosives, a drone, and a 3D printer were found in his possession, along with the AR-15 rifle that had been legally purchased by his father, Matthew Crooks, a member of a local shooting club. The discovery of these materials, coupled with reports that Crooks had visited the rally site at least twice earlier in the day, suggested a premeditated and calculated attack. Further complicating the picture, investigators found that Crooks had conducted online searches related to the Trump rally, the Democratic National Convention, and even images of the former president and current President Biden. Yet, despite this digital trail, authorities struggled to uncover a clear motive. Crooks' cell phone history, social media activity, and personal communications offered few clues as to what might have driven him to target the former president. The lack of a manifesto, political ideology, or any discernible grievance against Trump only added to the perplexing nature of the case. As the investigation progressed, another troubling aspect of the tragedy emerged: the apparent security failures that had allowed Crooks to carry out his attack. Reports indicated that the Secret Service had identified Crooks as a potential threat more than an hour before the shooting, yet he was still able to scale the building and open fire. Further complicating the matter, there were conflicting accounts regarding the actions of the counter-sniper teams and local law enforcement. While some reports suggested that a sniper had spotted Crooks and radioed in his location, others claimed that the shooter's position on the sloped roof had made it difficult for the snipers to get a clear shot. The revelation that a local police officer had confronted Crooks on the roof but then retreated only added to the growing sense of confusion and frustration. How could a 20-year-old with no apparent military training or expertise manage to evade detection and mount such a brazen assault on the former president? In the aftermath of the shooting, the nation's attention turned to the individuals and institutions charged with protecting the highest levels of government. Calls for the resignation of Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheel echoed across the country, as her agency found itself under intense scrutiny. Cheel, who had initially suggested that the responsibility for securing the building where Crooks was perched lay with local law enforcement, later backtracked, acknowledging the Secret Service's role in the security planning. Her comments only fueled the growing outrage and demands for accountability. Congress, the Department of Homeland Security, and independent commissions wasted no time in launching comprehensive investigations into the security failures that had allowed the assassination attempt to occur. The goal was to uncover the root causes of the lapse in protection and implement measures to prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again. As the various probes delved deeper into the incident, the scope of the failures became increasingly apparent. Systemic issues within the Secret Service, from hiring practices and training to resource allocation and communication breakdowns, all came under intense scrutiny. The hearings and investigations also shed light on the broader implications of the assault on democracy. Lawmakers and security experts grappled with the unsettling reality that the very individuals tasked with safeguarding the foundations of the American political system had been caught off guard, exposing vulnerabilities that could be exploited by those seeking to undermine the country's democratic institutions. For the families of the victims, the aftermath of the shooting was a painful and emotional journey. The outpouring of support, with GoFundMe campaigns raising millions of dollars, provided some solace, but the scars of that fateful day would take time to heal. Corey Comparator, the 47-year-old man who had sacrificed his life to shield his wife and children from the hail of bullets, was hailed as a hero, his bravery a testament to the human spirit in the face of unimaginable tragedy. The grief of his loved ones, and the families of the other victims, served as a somber reminder of the real-world consequences of the security failures that had allowed the attack to unfold. For the Secret Service, the reckoning was one of both introspection and transformation. Calls for the agency to address its hiring practices, training protocols, and resource allocation were joined by demands for greater transparency and accountability. The need to cultivate a workforce that reflected the diversity of the nation it served, while maintaining the highest standards of excellence, became a central focus of the reform efforts. Beyond the Secret Service, the reverberations of the Butler, Pennsylvania, shooting were felt across the political landscape. Lawmakers, security experts, and concerned citizens grappled with the unsettling reality that the very foundations of American democracy had been shaken, underscoring the need for a comprehensive re-examination of the protective measures in place for current and former presidents, as well as other elected officials. In the wake of the assassination attempt, the nation found itself at a crossroads, facing a choice that would shape the course of its future. Would it rise to the challenge, implementing robust safeguards and instilling a renewed sense of vigilance, or would it succumb to the forces that sought to undermine its very foundations? The path forward was clear, but the road ahead was fraught with uncertainty. As the investigations continued and the reforms took shape, the nation held its breath, knowing that the stakes had never been higher. The future of American democracy hung in the balance, and the decisions made in the aftermath of the Butler, Pennsylvania, shooting would reverberate for generations to come.